James was just here a few minutes back. Maybe he's coming back. Not sure, but let's get started. He wanted to do an introduction, but I hope you all have come to this. So I'm so glad you've come, and you would have chosen this because of the topic, and perhaps you also know that I'm a psychologist, and I did it last week, and we're doing it again. So welcome to the Power of Love, and we'll start with meditation of centering. So first, let's close our eyes and just breathe very gently and focus in your heart. And imagine there's a small flame out there, very small flame, and it needs your breath to grow. Every time you breathe into it, you're giving it life, energy, you're giving it air, and it's growing. And see how it's growing beautifully until it reaches the size of your thumb. And as they say in the Upanishads, Angushta Matra Purusha. It is the size of a thumb. And this Purusha is the seat of psychic love. And once you are in this, when you are focused all your concentration within, just bring your hands to the flame and warm them. The hands are instruments of healing. The healing touch is a blessing that we all have, and we can develop it by warming it in the psychic fire. So let's warm it in this gentle flame, and then we spread our hands around the world, and we'll do a compassion meditation. We'll give compassion first to ourselves and to the people we live with, our near and dear ones, and compassion to the situation we are all going through because of this, the virus that's here, and we are all having to change our lifestyle to look at new ways of living, and some of us are not so well because of this, whether in the body or psychologically. Let's give them our compassion. So the healing touch is not just a physical touch, it's an abstract touch that can spread all over the universe. It's so powerful. It can be so big. So keep spreading your compassion. Give it to the people in your city. Spread it across. Give it to the people in your country. Give it to the people of the whole world. And especially give it to the people who are working extra hard during these times. The doctors, the nurses, the caretakers, everybody who's trying to make our lives easy. Give it to them. And then look around and give it to nature. All her resources that she has given us, the wood that's used in the furniture that we sit on, the doors, all the doorknobs and hinges made of metal come out of the earth. Everything that's made of plastic, petrochemicals, everything comes out of the earth, and it has been there for thousands of years as fish bones. So the sacrifice of the fish, our ancestors, we are using them now, and because of them our life is what it is, as happy and comfortable. And let's also give gratitude to the people who work the oil fields, the agricultural fields, the mines, and their life is harder than ours. So let's give gratitude for their hard work and hope them the best. And with this, let's return to the heart, to the physical body. Return where you are sitting, and slowly open your eyes and be present right here now. And today's topic is on the power of love. It's a most transformative power, and we have all experienced love in some form or the other. From the very time we were babies, we were not even conscious of what we were doing. We reached out to the person who was closest to us, to our mother, to the nurse, to our fathers, to everybody around. That reaching out is so spontaneous, it's so natural. In fact, if you do not get love and touch at that time when you are a child, your nervous system will not develop in a natural way, and further on throughout life there'll be something extremely deficient, because that big vacuum, that gap in childhood for the first few days and months will never be able to overcome. And what happens to a lot of people is they end up becoming psychopaths, a lot of orphans who don't have anyone to love them when they are children. So let us be very happy and grateful that we have had people around us when we were growing up to give us this love and for us to reach out. So love is such a natural thing to do. Not to love is the unnatural thing to do. To hate is unnatural. Not to negotiate, to create walls, to build up ego defenses, that is the unnatural thing. So today we'll do the natural thing. And also, why is it natural? If you remember mother's story, she used to say this story when before she came to the ashram and she became Sri Aurobindo's disciple, she had a different path that she followed, a path of occultism, and there they used Chaldean myths. And there's one Chaldean myth of creation that is not, the myths are not just imagination, these have truths. Someone like a rishi has seen these truths and he has been able to formulate it in terms of a story. So let's listen to this myth that mother has said. So there was the Supreme in the beginning, and he created 4 big powers from himself. And these 4 big powers we can remember with these words: Sat, Chit, Ananda and Satya. So Sat was the power of life, Chit was the power of consciousness or knowledge, Ananda, the power of delight, bliss, and Satya, the power of truth. So he created these 4 formidable gods. And the first principle he allowed them was the principle of freedom. And what they do with their freedom is they experiment with their opposites. So from them emanated 4 big asuras, or the adversary powers. From life came death. From consciousness and knowledge came ignorance, inconscience. From bliss came sorrow, and from truth came falsehood. Now there were 8 powers, and immediately the 4 started warring with the other 4, the adversaries. So the Supreme realized that the creation needed his help. So he sends his power, his Shakti, the Divine Mother, and she comes down on earth with the first principle of love, that love with L capital. She embodies that and she comes down and she brings a constellation of gods with her to work out the problem of creation that it has become. And this is the adventure that she has come down to work out with all of us. So all these big adversaries and small adversaries and the power of love and the power of freedom, they are all within us. And that battle that's happening outside is also happening within us. And every moment we have a choice to decide to love, which is so deep rooted in the fundamentals of the creation, that love is there. And we have had opportunities to know extremely loving beings like Sri Aurobindo and the Mother and all the gurus who exist, Buddha, and all those wonderful gods and goddesses in all the cultures and myths. They have this principle of love, the principle of charity, of giving, of embracing, the unconditional acceptance of who you are. So we want to embrace that. So in today's presentation, what we want to do is we'll do an immersion in different kinds of love. So there will be some videos that I'm going to share, some talks, and there'll be also some storytelling, but everything to do with different kinds of love, so that we can take this journey of love in different ways and participate in this huge power of love for 1 hour, and then take it with us and continue participating in love forever. So this is how I've broken it down. So there are 4 types of love. The simplest type is Sneha. Sneha is love for children, love for animals, love for what we think are subordinate to us. It's not that we are in control with them, but these are things we could control. But out of love, it's not that we control, we have compassion for them. So this kind of love for the child, love for a pet, is love for nature, especially love for flowers. Why don't we go and mutilate them? They are so delicate. It's so easy for us to mutilate them, but we cannot. There's something opposite of wanting to mutilate that shows up. We want to protect it. We want to let it continue. We are almost sorry that butterflies just live for a few days. So that kind of love, the sneha love, I'll tell you some stories. Then we'll see a video. So one story that really stands out is the story of Father Flanagan. So he was a priest in the early 1900s. He came from Ireland and he settled in the United States, in the city called Omaha, in the center of the United States. And he wanted to help boys, little kids, especially since he had a church kind of organization. He saw that boys were treated very badly in those days. First of all, there were a lot of orphans. Parenting wasn't a big skill set that you should have. It just happened that children are born and somehow they rose up. Remember Oliver Twist, story by Charles Dickens? That's the depiction of how children were treated in orphanages. And this child, the children that were there with Father Flanagan were usually very ill-treated children who were the cases, like difficult cases. They were mostly from the jails, the delinquent jails. So Father Flanagan used to tell the mayors of the cities, just send me your difficult cases. I'm going to treat them well and make them happy in my organization. So he started a school called Boys Town. And in the school, there were difficult cases. But this story is about a boy called Edil. And the mayor brought him with a huge dossier of his case report. And he had done such a lot of crimes already. He was in jail. And he comes in to Father Flanagan's room and he's smoking. And here's the thing, he's just 8 years old. In that time, he has robbed a bank. He has learned how to shoot. He's gone to a grocery store. And he has asked the cashier to give the money. And at some point, there was an old lady in the grocery store. She managed to grab him by the hair and she called the police. And then he went to the jail. And all this he did because he was the leader of a gang and an opposing leader told him that here's a challenge for you. Why don't you go and rob a bank? So he's done that just for the challenge. And he smokes and he drinks and he has absolutely no discipline. So Father Flanagan says, okay, leave him. Let me see what I can do. And this boy is absolutely out there to give the father a hard time. He has not gotten love from anyone and he wants to give it back. Give it back to society. That give what back? Give hatred back to society. So he goes to the classes. He's just throwing things around, disrupting the class, disturbing the other students. And one by one, all the teachers just give up on him. Then Father Flanagan says, let me try to tutor him myself. And he doesn't want to learn. So then Father says, okay, let me try a new method. Let me follow his lifestyle and let me just be his friend. First, let me be his friend. So Eddie takes him to junk food stores and eats a lot of ice cream, and the father has to do everything that Eddie does, bunch of hot dog, ice cream, cool drinks, things that the father himself cannot stomach. The little boy is doing it just to be spiteful. And months of this happen, and then the father has decided that this is my challenge and I have to give up because this is not going to work out for me, for my body. I'm getting too tired. When he's ready to give up, at that time the boy comes into the father's room and he says, Father Flanagan, I want it out with you. Apparently he's been thinking about something. So the father says, oh, at least he's talking. He's not sulking. And he says, yeah, what is it? And he says that, Father, you are a phony. Like you are a dishonest person. You're a phony. So why is it that I'm a phony? You lie to all the teachers. You say Eddie is a good boy. Eddie is not a good boy. Then the father says that, why do you say that, Eddie? I think you're a good boy. So what's a good boy? So Eddie says, A good boy is a boy who listens to others, listens to his teachers. I never listened to a teacher. How can you call me a good boy? The Father Flanagan says, I still call you a good boy. Then Eddie says, see, you're such a liar. Then Father Flanagan says, okay, Eddie, who was your teacher so far? All the gangsters, they were your teacher, right? And they told you, they threw these challenges at you that go and rob the bank, go and hit this person, go and steal from here, do all these naughty things, and you followed them. So you followed your teachers, therefore you are a good boy. And Eddie thinks about it and he just cannot find an answer, an argument against it. And suddenly something in his heart crumples and he realizes that he needs love. He was resisting it for so long and now he needs it. So he goes and climbs into the father's lap, just 8 years old after all, and he buries his head in the father's chest and he starts weeping. And that's the turning point. And Eddie has never gone back to being a naughty child ever. And he was very clever to start with because, of course, to be the leader of a gang at the age of 8, to beat all those people who were much older than him, needed a lot of cunning. So he was intelligent. And his story is that he grew up, he joined the US Marines, he fought in the Second World War, he saved so many of the soldiers who fought with him, and he got 3 bravery medals. And he was such a success story. And this is how he started his life. So the kind of love that Father Flanagan could give him, the kind of deep sneha with so much effort, shows that it is possible. If one person can do it, it's such a beautiful story to inspire everyone else to do it too. Okay, and the next story I'll tell you is love for an animal. A lot of us love pets like crazy. So this story is about 2 friends, John and Ace. They had come from Australia and they had come to UK to study in the 1960s. So the 1960s were quite wild times and people used to have wild animals as pets. These pets used to come to Harrods, this like really upscale departmental store, just 1 piece at a time kind of thing, and people used to buy them. So this is a story of a lion cub called Christian. He was 5th generation born to lion and lioness in the zoo in London. So some people thought that let one cub get a different kind of life instead of being in the zoo in the cage all his life. So they put him out in Harrods, and these 2 boys who were just like in the 20s, they bought him. And this Christian loved them as his parents. And then he started growing really fast. In 9 months, he was eating a ton of food, and also he needed a huge amount of place to play. All the friends came together to help John and Ace, but it wasn't enough. So finally they contacted a person who used to take care of orphan cubs, lion cubs in Kenya, in the safari area. So they shipped Christian to this place, and then he started acclimatizing with his own people, with his own creatures. And then these 2 men wanted to go and see him. So we'll see the video of this reunion and how they loved Christian the lion. Just hold on, let me share my screen, start the video and share my screen. All right, so here we go, sharing the screen. Okay, something happens to the sound. Let me just reshare it. Okay, hold on. There is sound to this. All right. So that was the story of Christian, and he also brought his lioness to make his lioness meet his parents, very human-like. So you see, animals also remember, even wild animals we think who are wild, they also remember. Especially we know stories about elephants who have a very fantastic memory, and snakes also have a memory, especially when their mates are hurt, they really remember because they have that kind of heartbreak. Whether we feel it or not, for them, they have heartbreak. So the second kind of love that we are going to explore is called preeti. So this is the love for somebody who is your friend, a compatriot. So what kind of friend is it? It's a friend in comrade in arms, someone you are journeying together with, like a classmate that you have the same challenges, that you're having the same growing up pains. So you trade each other's growing up secrets, and you help each other. And sometimes when there's danger, you meet them together. So that kind of friendship is something that we all know for a long time before we meet the other kind of love, which is prema, love for some one person of the particular opposite sex, or somebody we can call the lover. So for a long time we have this kind of preeti, comradeship. This is the deep-seated preeti is what we call brotherhood, fraternity, those beautiful ideals that the French Revolution threw out. So what we will see right now is the story of this kind of preeti between a horse and a human. And both of them have the same situation in life. The horse was a wild horse, and the man was from a Native American tribe. Also wild in a sense that not civilized by the Europeans who came to America, who came to colonize America. So when they came to the rock country around Utah, Arizona area, they caught the wild horse and they caught this wild man, and they put them together in jail. And these two found out that if they wanted freedom, they had to help each other, man and beast. And they became good friends, and they found out a way to help each other and go through the challenge of escaping from people who had guns, who had superior weapons, who had superior intelligence, who had many more people in their gang. But these two stuck together, and because they did this hero's journey together, how they became very well bonded in preeti, in that kind of comradeship. So we'll see another video. right, sharing my screen.
Oh, yes.
You will always be in my heart. Take care of her, spirit, who could not be broken. I miss you, my friend.
I have been waiting so long to run free. But that goodbye was harder than I ever imagined. I'll never forget that boy. And how we won back our freedom together.
All right. So that's the kind of sacrifice that people who fought together in the freedom movements, they used to sometimes lay down their lives also to sacrifice for their comrades. That's the kind of fraternity, beautiful bonding here between an animal that talks and a human. And next what we'll do is we'll do the chakra system. So we'll briefly look at the chakras and we'll concentrate on the heart chakra. And for that, let me share my screen again. It's going to be a PowerPoint. We will not go in detail on the chakra system. I'm assuming you all know about it. So we'll look in detail on the heart chakra. This is the heart chakra. Before that, just briefly, these are the 7 chakras, and the heart chakra is the central chakra. The color is green, and the strongest emotion in this is the love emotion. And let's look at something about the green color. Look carefully at this. The chakra, the yantra of the chakra is the central yantra that looks very much like Sri Aurobindo's yantra, Sri Aurobindo's symbol. And this symbol is a very ancient symbol that Sri Aurobindo also took. The ascending triangle and the descending triangle. The ascending triangle of love, life, and light. That's the triangle of aspiration. And the descending triangle of grace. And it has these 12 petals, just like mother symbol. So the two together are superimposed mother and Sri Aurobindo symbols. And also look at the color green. The heart chakra green and mother symbol green, that corresponds to gratitude and humility. Two soul qualities that are seated in the heart or in the psychic heart. And this image shows you the superimposition of Mother and Sri Aurobindo's symbols on the left and the chakra system. So on the right you have the Anahata chakra. It's called the Anahata, the unahata. So the chakra that has not been wounded. So in life everything can be wounded, body can be wounded, your emotions can be wounded, your mind, every particular thing can be wounded. But still there is a spark divine that's never wounded. And that is in the chakra of the heart. That's why it's called the Anahata chakra. Anahata chakra. And it is the superimposition of Mother and Sri Aurobindo symbol. And also the Mooladhara chakra, which is the 4-petaled chakra of the base, the foundational chakra of the physical being. So all these powers together make up the symbol of Mother and Sri Aurobindo. Now I'll let you interpret it more deeply, but in just it is that they are, our gurus are in our heart in the Anahata chakra, and it's also that the yantras indicate that the dual aspect of Mother and Sri Aurobindo are so powerfully seated in the psychic heart. And the next, remember we did Sneha, Preeti, and the next type of love we are going to discuss is Prema. So this is the love that you have to start with for one single person whom you choose as your soul companion or a soulmate, your partner. And this kind of love is so strong that it somehow is able to transform you as a person. So there are lots of stories of transformations that happen when people fall in love so deeply with somebody else. First of all, the goddess of love in Greek mythology is Aphrodite, or Venus. In her Roman name is Venus, and she grew directly from the ocean in her full-bodied form. She wasn't a child of a god and goddess, because love, you cannot, she's so powerful that no one can claim her as their child, as their ward. So she's already a full-blown deity, and she came with not just love. There are 2 other powers that she brings. They are all L words, so love, literature, and laughter. So literature and laughter go with love. The Aphrodite consciousness creates a consciousness of humor, laughter, and it also triggers creativity. That's why literature. So she comes with this the whole lot of powers with her. So what happens is, when someone is exploring their laughter, their literature capacities, they transform. There's something that rearranges within the mind, the consciousness, the heart, everything rearranges. So I'll give you 2 examples, 2 stories. One is the story of Pygmalion, again Greek mythology. Pygmalion was a king who didn't have a lover, but he was a sculptor. So he sculpted a beautiful goddess, not a goddess, a beautiful woman he loved. He did it in marble with so much love and care, and every day he used to look at this woman. He called her Galatea. He had a name for her. He was so much in love with this woman that Aphrodite realized that he had given her place. So he had done a prana pratishtha within himself of Aphrodite, and she gave him the boon of putting life in this statue. So one day he goes to the statue and he's gazing at her, and she walks out. That beautiful woman he conceived out of his mind walks out, and she says, "Here I am for you. Take me as your wife." That's one transformation story. That stone can be transformed into life, can be animated with the power of love. And the other story is the story from Indian mythology, not mythology, actually history. This is during Buddha's time. There was a king in Magadha called Ajatashatru, and he couldn't win over one small enclave called Vaishali. So he came to Vaishali as a soldier, dressed as a normal soldier, and he also got wounded. It was all part of his plan to find out where the people of Vaishali get their strength from, where do they keep their weapons. So as a normal soldier, he was tended to by a lady called Amrapali, and she took such good care of him, and they fell in love. Ajatashatru also fell in love with Amrapali, and she trusted him, so she showed him where they keep the weapons. And then one day he disappeared, went back to Magadha, brought his army, and now that he knew where the weapons were, he just went directly to the weapons and he destroyed Vaishali, the whole city. And Amrapali suddenly realized that that secret only one person knew out of the people of Vaishali knew, but she had just told to one foreigner, and that was that lover of hers who suddenly disappeared. So she goes to the battlefield and she looks at the king and she realizes her mistake. And she is heartbroken that this is the person I trusted, and what has he done to my people? So she's so heartbroken, she wants to leave samsara, and she goes off to the forest. And just then she sees Buddha's people. Buddha and his entourage of yogis are walking by, and she falls at his feet and she says, "I'm really disillusioned with life, help me." And then he tells her, "Yes, life can be very hard. Why don't you follow me?" And she realizes that she finds solace with him, and she follows him. She has shaved off her head and she has become a nun. And then Ajatashatru comes. He has conquered Vaishali, but he has come to reclaim Amrapali as his queen. And he is looking everywhere for Amrapali. He hasn't found. And finally someone says, "Oh, there is a new nun in Buddha's entourage. Is that possibly her?" Then he comes running to her and he falls at her feet and he says, "Treat me as you like. I have sinned against you, but I as a king had to also take care of my people. So I was torn between two things, two of my duties. But now that I have found you, do whatever you like." And then she says, "I'm not interested in life anymore. I have chosen this path." So Ajatashatru also leaves his kingdom and he follows Buddha. So that kind of transformational power that completely changes someone's life, someone who is standing at the peak of his career, peak of his life with so much success and achievement, gives up everything. It's possible only because his love for Amrapali was so deep. So now what we'll do is we'll also take this kind of journey of a very deep love, and this journey will be Radha's journey. Let's all imagine that we have a Radha soul in us, that we are all Radhas, and there is this beautiful God, Krishna, who was with us. Krishna was with us in Vrindavan, and there was such a lot of joy that there was no time to think of anything but enjoyment of dance, the love and laughter that comes with this kind of consciousness, Krishna consciousness. And we never felt the lack of Krishna. Each gopi, or each of us as gopi, felt that Krishna had multiplied himself for each of us. And then what happens? One day he is recalled to his kingdom and he's not a Gopala anymore. He's now king of the Yadus. So he has left and gone to Mathura. And all the gopis slowly start adjusting to their new life without Krishna, except Radha. She cannot get him out of her mind, and she's so immersed in Krishna Prem, love for Krishna, that she starts neglecting her household duties. And one day, her husband, who's scolding her all the time, but she's not even listening to him, throws her out of home. And suddenly, when she realizes she has no home anywhere, she has nowhere to go, instead of getting angry with him, something happens. She feels so terribly grateful that she has been given her freedom. He let her go, and now she can follow her heart. So she wishes him all the goodness that she couldn't give him. She wishes him all that out of her gratitude. And she goes to the river's edge to cross the Yamuna and go to Mathura, where Krishna is. Then she realizes, oh, Krishna is not a Gopal anymore. He's not just a cowherd. He's a prince. He's a king. So she has to take gifts to him, and she has to also deck herself up to be allowed into a palace. So she makes all the garlands, flower garlands. She decks herself up. She makes garlands for Krishna. And then she also has a Krishna idol, clay idol that she had made after Krishna left. She brings all that to the river's edge, but the boatman says, it's all too heavy. You have to let go of something. So she lets go of her clothes, but she's still too heavy. So she lets go of her own ornaments. Then she has to let go of the clay idol and also the garlands she had made for Krishna as offering. And she had hoped to adorn him like she used to do when he was in Vrindavan. She has to let go of everything. And when she is completely simple, she has nothing, suddenly it occurs to her that, did the Lord tell her not to be complicated? He always wanted simplicity. So that is how he's going to allow her to meet him. And then the boat starts moving. Then she reaches the palace and she waits for him outside the gates. She doesn't see him come. She sees a whole lot of people come and go. And she realizes this is a busy place. It's hard to meet him. So she has to go in. She asks the palace gatemen, and they laugh at her that, who are you to want to meet our king? He doesn't have time for you. Then she says, oh, just tell him Radha from Vrindavan has come. He will come to get me. And again they laugh at her. So what is so special about Radha from Vrindavan? You just look at you, just like a rustic simpleton. And she feels heartbroken. She goes to the river's edge and she doesn't want to live anymore because she couldn't get the object, the meaning of her life, which was loving Krishna. So she's ready to jump in the water. Just then she looks at her reflection and she starts wondering why she thought she was special. She just looks like a normal village rustic simpleton, as the guards told her. So in that moment she gets something else within that she didn't have, humility that she's nothing special, no one is special, that God loves everyone as they are. So with that humility, suddenly she realizes that she can live. Even if he doesn't love her, she can love him, and that is how she'll live. And then she hears an old man's cry from far saying, please, someone give me water. So she takes the water and gives him water. She takes care of him, and she realizes her life is still so valuable. She can take care of people who need her help. But this old man revives from his fever and delirium, and he says, oh, what have you done? I have a horrible infection and people all die with it. That's why even my family members just let me here. They let me die, and you've now helped me. And that's what happens. In a few hours he dies. She cremates him, and then she has this huge fever. And in her delirium, in her pain, she realizes that it's the last few hours of her life. And then she gets this regret that even when I chose to live and love him, I'm not being able to do it. When her pain is so intense, suddenly that regret disappears, and she says, doesn't matter, even a few seconds, if I can love him completely, surrender to him completely, that's worth it. So suddenly her love becomes unconditional. She's not expecting anything back from him, neither anything from herself, that she's going to have so many years of her life loving Krishna. So that moment, she sees that it's that the Godhuli time, or the time of dusk, when the cows used to return and create a whole lot of dust in the sky that looked golden, and she hears Krishna's flute from there, and she sees Krishna has come running to her, and Krishna says, "Here I am. You are my perfect lover because you could love me unconditionally." And Krishna raises Radha to heaven. That's why Radha is a goddess for us. There are so many temples of Krishna and Radha, and what do we worship? We worship their conjugal love. And through this story, we realize that this Radha's journey, or her lover's pilgrimage, was to develop the soul qualities. So the soul qualities that she didn't have and she developed through this journey was gratitude, then simplicity, humility, and unconditional love. So now that we have done this journey of Radha, we are seated within the heart. We'll do a heart meditation, or meditation that's going to release the power of our own love, our own heart. And for this, I'm going to show you a screen, but you don't have to look at it. Find a comfortable place. No, before we do that, there is some time. So what we'll do is we'll finish the fourth type of love, and that is the love of bhakti. I have a video to show. Bhakti you all know, so let me not elaborate on it. Let's just hear this Imam. This Imam is speaking about bhakti. And bhakti is there in all sorts of religions, in all cultures, in all forms of worship. There is this worship for a supreme whom we can surrender to. And here I am going to share a video with you. And there's an Imam who's speaking, an Imam who's really not just Islamic Imam, someone who has read a lot, who's well connected with world cultures.
The sources of human problems have to do with egotism. I. The famous Sufi master Rumi, who is very well known to most of you, has a story in which he talks of a man who goes to the house of a friend and knocks on the door, and a voice answers, "Who's there?" "It's me." Or more grammatically correctly, "It is I," as we might say in English. The voice says, "Go away." After many years of training, of disciplining, of search and struggle, he comes back, and with much greater humility, he knocks again on the door. The voice asks, "Who's there?" "It is you, O heartbreaker." The door swings open, and the voice says, "Come in, for there is no room in this house for two eyes." Compassion on earth is given. It is in us. All we have to do is to get our egos out of the way. Get our egotism out of the way. I'm sure probably all of you here, or certainly the very vast majority of you, have had what you might call a spiritual experience. A moment in your lives when for a few seconds, a minute perhaps, the boundaries of your ego dissolved. And at that minute, you felt at one with the universe, one with that jug of water, one with every human being, one with the Creator. And you felt in the presence of power, of awe, of the deepest love, the deepest sense of compassion and mercy that you have ever experienced in your lives. That is a moment which is a gift of God to us. God, Boch, whatever name you want to call him with, Allah, Ram, Om, whatever the name might be, through which you name or access the presence of divinity, is the locus of absolute being, absolute love and mercy and compassion, and absolute knowledge and wisdom, what Hindus call Sat Chitananda. The language differs, but the objective is the same.
So now we'll do our own meditation, the heart chakra meditation. So find a comfortable place. You can close your eyes or you can keep it open. I'm going to share a screen with lotuses, and we'll do this quiet meditation. So here we go. Take a few breaths, get centered, quieten your mind, just feel this strong power within your heart. When the person who would become the Amitabha Buddha had reached Buddhahood, he had earned the privilege of passing beyond samsara. He was crossing over the threshold when he stopped to look back. His eyes met the millions of sentient beings in sorrow and pain. One teardrop fell out of his eye. The great Buddha gave this teardrop a body and sent it to the earth to heal the sorrow of the creatures. This new God was suffused with bodhicitta, the enlightened heart. He is the God of compassion, Avalokiteshwar, in Sanskrit, which means the downward gazing Lord. He is Kuan and Kanon in the Far East, and he is within every heart. Let us meditate on our own heart, the mani in the Padma, the jewel in the lotus. Let your emotions flow freely. This body has served you faithfully for many years. This heart started beating when you were a bundle of cells in your mother's womb, 3 weeks after you were conceived, before the heart itself took shape. Tell it, I am grateful to you. I love you. You can place your hands over the heart and hear it beat rhythmically. It is your most trusted friend. This is unconditional love. Your heart loves you with such an innocent intensity. Think of a sentient being you can love intensely, unconditionally. It could be anyone or anything, a tree, a pet, a character in a story, a person who was, a person who is, a god, the night sky, the sound of rain. Stay with this entity. whom we will call a person. Touch this person with your hands. Draw them close to your heart. Hear the beating of their heart within your heart. Take a deep breath and breathe out through your heart. The air that left your heart was a sweet breeze on your loved one's face. It is filling them with joy and they are smiling. They are drawing you closer to them. Now, there is no distance between the two of you. You have united. The Brihadaranyaka Upanishad says, "Not for the sake of the little self do we love. We love for the sake of the higher self." Because here, we don't see any difference between others and ourselves. Not for the sake of the husband or wife or child or wealth or fame or knowledge or anything do we love the husband, wife, child, wealth, fame, knowledge, anything, but for the sake of the Atman, the self, identified with all. Therefore, are we unconditionally, helplessly, overwhelmingly in love with all. Nava are patyo kamaya pati priyo bhavati. Atmanastu kamaya pati priyo bhavati. Nava are sarvasya kamaya sarvam priyam bhavati. Atmanastu kamaya sarvam priyam bhavati. Now that we have loved one person thoroughly, we are ready to love others. That one person has sent us a butterfly messenger with a drop of honey. It has landed on our heart and has pollinated it. Touch your heart. Do you feel a lotus has blossomed there? That is the lotus of the heart chakra, the unwounded anahata chakra. It has never been wounded and can never wound anyone. It is a safe haven for you, your secret heart behind your physical heart. Gently lift the lotus from your heart. Breathe in its perfume. It is a subtle scent, like its pink color. Imagine a river all around you. It is a river of consciousness that everybody is immersed in. When we breathe in air, we drink from this river. Let your heart chakra lotus float in this infinite river of consciousness. Look, your lotus is creating ripples that are touching other lotuses. And their ripples are dancing towards your lotus. What a pretty picture all these love lotuses make. Each ripple is creating a new wave of joy all around. When we love, we ripple out waves that touch everyone around us. If we keep our hearts open, we feel the love ripples from others reach our shores. The poet Yeats dreams of such a shore. I will arise and go now, for always night and day. I hear lake water lapping with low sounds by the shore, while I stand on the roadway or on the pavement's grey. I hear it in the deep heart's core. The Urdu poet Asghar Gondwi pays homage to love in the couplet. नियाज़े इश्क को समझा है क्या ए वाइज़े नादान, हजारों बन गए काबे जहां मैंने ज़मीन रख दी. What do you know of love's humility, O priest innocent? 1,000 altars spring to sight where I bow my head. The sage of the Isha Upanishad says, one who knows that all beings are his own self, what can deceive or make him grieve? For he sees unity everywhere. Yasmin sarvani bhutani atmaivabhut vijanata tatra ko moha ka shoka ekatvam anupashyata. Now gently remember who you are and return to your body. Slowly return to your breath and open your eyes. Just wanted to say that thank you all for coming, and at this point, if you're ready, we can switch on our mics and our videos. We can look at each other. If we want to discuss about something, we can do that right now.
Good morning. Thank you for the beautiful session. Please could you take us to the first story once again, if possible?
The Father Flanagan story?
No, before that.
Ajatashatru?
No.
Pygmalion?
The four the asuras
Oh,
and
the very first. Oh, I see. Yeah,
first
yeah.
one.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to hear that again.
Okay. So the story is from a Chaldean myth, and the mother tells the story about the Supreme created four big powers, and they were Sat, Chit, Ananda, and Satya. The power of Sat is life, Chit is consciousness, Ananda is bliss, and Satya is truth. And he gave them the principle of freedom. So they created their opposites, and each of them had a exact opposite who was an adversary force of them, and the four opposites were, of course, death, then consciousness had inconscience, bliss had sorrow, and truth had falsehood. So these eight powers were in the creation and they were creating havoc. So the Supreme sent forth the Divine Mother to take care of the creation, to be the mother of the creation. And she brings her principle, which is the principle of love. She brings love to the creation and she constellates the other gods, and together they come down to better the situation of those who are being torn apart by the big forces and their adversaries. That is the story of the Chaldean myth.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
So it was my sound breaking in
Uh,
between?
no.
No.
I just wanted to gather it once again.
No, that's fine, because I am reading the notes in the chat and it seemed my sound was breaking at times.
Oh, it was
I
clear.
hope you didn't have this kind of experience with breaking sound. Can be quite disruptive when you are listening to someone all the time and that person's sound is breaking.
Lopa, Nisha here.
Yes, Nisha, tell me.
How do we keep our heart chakra open and more receptive? These days, everybody thinks from the mind more,
Yeah.
than the heart. So how do we keep it open and more loving?
Yeah, actually, it's the heart has so many impurities also, no? So the desire heart is also in the heart, the psychic heart is also in the heart.
Yeah.
So usually people say the mind is a safer place to take decisions from, but if you can really connect with your psychic heart, that is a stronger powerhouse for making decisions, to take the right decisions. It's not going to be in doubt. It has so many other capacities. It can apprehend intuitions directly from the heart. So I think if you do these kind of meditations where you are concentrating on the heart, this kind of meditation that we did at the end, imagine the visualization meditation where imagining that there is something that's blossoming in your heart. Very beautiful flower to imagine is the lotus. It's a very big flower. It's the shape, the bud of the lotus is in the shape of the heart. So it's a very beautiful picture. Plus the chakra system always uses the word lotus because the vortexes, in the chakras are like lotus petals. So if you remember this meditation, you could repeat it. That helps get in touch with the heart. And the more you practice it, the easier it is to take decisions from the heart, to trust your heart, no, to allow your heart to take decisions and let the mind take the second place.
So kind of listen to your heart more.
Yeah. Listen to your heart more. Listen to then once you listen, you'll be able to discern which heart is talking to you. If it is the desire heart, or it is the psychic heart, or it is the love lost heart. There's so many different kinds of heart, right? But you'll be able to discern once you live more and more close to the heart. So we have overshot by a lot of minutes. Thank you all for staying up, people in the US, and for your Sunday time. And I wish you a wonderful Sunday. If we have anything to say, if James, you are audible right now, if you wanted to say something, I'm not sure you didn't say anything in the beginning, but here's your time if you want to say something. I'm not sure if he's audible still. Otherwise, we'll see you again. We'll have such programs, and in the usual way, you'll get to know about this program, and then the next program we have, which is a big one. It's from 1st August to 15th August. 15 people each day. One person is going to present for 1 hour, and the topic is heal yourself. You may have seen the email that James has sent out, and the events page in Sri Aurobindo Society website should also have it. It's a 15-day thing. And then I plan to do one, just like this, a standalone session I plan to do on creativity. So my topic in this 15-day thing is on healing through creativity. But the standalone topic will be a little more about just possibilities, not just the healing aspect of creativity, but a lot of other aspects of creativity, how it brings new life, it can give a positive twist to your life, how it allows you to bring in some defense mechanisms and some coping mechanisms that we're not aware of until we start practicing creativity. So it's going to be on creativity, and we'll continue doing these webinars until we can meet face to face. So we'll let the divine decide when we will meet face to face, but till then, nature is enjoying our staying at home, and let's enjoy with nature.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.